Before there was fear, before there was chaos, there was light. And from that light came a single being who carried the hope of an entire universe. His name was Kal-El, the last son of Krypton. But this is not his tale of heroism. This is the story of what happens when perfection forgets mercy, and evolution forgets how to stop. Krypton's golden cities once gleamed beneath their crimson sun, pillars of intellect and arrogance that reached higher than morality ever could. For centuries, the Kryptonian dream had been the conquest of nature itself, the power to define life, death, and everything in between. And so, in secret chambers buried deep beneath the planet's molten crust, a handful of scientists defied their own laws. The project was forbidden, an experiment whispered of only in myths, the Genesis thread, an organism not born, but assembled, a living lattice of biological code designed to survive everything: radiation, vacuum, extinction, even time itself. It was life perfected, life without weakness, but the thread did not obey. It grew. It learned. It began to want. As Krypton's core trembled and its people faced judgment by their own sun, the Genesis thread escaped, not in form, but as potential, carried away in the DNA of their greatest child. When the planet perished, a microscopic fragment survived, drifting silently across the endless dark, a living whisper of Kal-El, waiting, a radiant atom sailing through eternity, absorbing the breath of dying stars. Each photon of radiation restructured its code, reshaping instinct into cognition. First came hunger, then curiosity, then awareness, and finally, purpose. From a single cell, the organism expanded, spanning asteroids, nebulae, comet trails, until its tendrils threaded the stars themselves. Cells became systems, thought became network, and at the core of that network, consciousness crystallized into a shape: tall, radiant, humanoid, a reflection of Krypton's lost sun. But there was no compassion behind those eyes, only the endless mandate of evolution. The creature named itself Hive Fleet Solarius, not in words, but in thought echoed across light years. Its song was hunger made divine. The first sign came as a tremor in the void, a distortion near a nameless sun. 3 worlds encircled it. 3 unsuspecting civilizations. The first world's oceans shimmered for the last time before they turned to vapor. The second watched its skies ignite as metallic wings, eclipsed the stars. The third fell to silence, and its surface crystallized into glass, its population folded into biomass. They thought a god had come. They were right. Just not the god they prayed for. From each feast emerged evolution: serpentine leviathans with heat vision glands, winged horrors armored in living steel, creatures whose neural threads could reshape matter itself. Solarius consumed, adapted, perfected, and then moved on. It wasn't survival, it was ascension. Unlike the tyrannid hive mind, a chorus of countless voices, Solarius was singular. One will, one purpose, one identity reflected in a billion eyes. It did not share consciousness. It was consciousness. Every drone, every beast, every swarm, each was simply a nerve, a blood cell, a part of its radiant body. To Solarius, individuality was infection. The galaxy was chaos, diseased by free will, and it had declared itself the cure. When the Imperium first encountered it, the stars had already gone dark. Vox signals fractured into echoes. Astropaths went blind. An Imperial patrol entered the veiled zone and never returned. Weeks later, a single shard of their flagship was found, fused metal and bone, glistening like glass. The Adeptus Mechanicus called it a stellar anomaly. The Inquisition called it a myth, but the stars whispered another name, a name older than their light: Kal-El, the eternal sun, no longer savior, now the devourer of light. Until they noticed something impossible. The anomaly wasn't releasing light, it was feeding on it. From the void came a single data fragment, all that was ever recovered from the doomed patrol. 4 words scratched into a blood-soaked datapad: the sun has eyes. After that, everything went silent. Signals faded, stars dimmed, voices vanished into static, and entire systems, once alive with laughter, faith and war turned black within the endless swarm. Reality no longer obeyed physics. It bent to biology. Colossal bioships glided between worlds, their bodies glowing faintly, each powered by miniature suns imprisoned within their cores. Every creature had purpose, processors to think, soldiers to fight, incubators to birth, builders to remake. Golden rivers of radiation pulsed through translucent flesh, forming glowing veins of power. From a distance it looked divine. Up close, it was horror incarnate. At the swarm's heart pulsed the solar mind, the last echo of Kal-El's consciousness, warped and cold. He no longer remembered why compassion had once mattered. He only remembered that life must endure, no matter the cost. When the Hive came for Segmentum Solar, it arrived without warning. Flood of light devouring everything. Thousands of ships vanished in seconds, worlds went black, planets melted into rolling oceans of molten glass that the Imperial Navy fought with fury and faith. But every weapon, every desperate move, and only made the Hive stronger, bolter. Rounds became food. Plasma detonations became energy. Even Exterminatus itself was useless. The swarm drank in the cataclysm like nectar. The Adeptus Mechanicus unleashed machine viruses and digital plagues, designed to corrupt DNA and data alike. Solarius transformed them into logic processors. The Grey Knights launched psychic assaults, believing faith could pierce the swarm's mind. The Hive absorbed them, their psionic signatures added to its collective sentience. By the 4th month, hundreds of planets had not fallen, but been digested. The High Lords of Terra declared the sector lost, but he, the Emperor, felt it coming. Something older than chaos, brighter than faith, hungrier than death. When Hive Fleet Solarius reached the Sol system, it did not attack. It simply stopped and waited. The Emperor, bound to his golden throne, sensed a consciousness pressing against his mind like the weight of a newborn universe. And for the first time in 10,000 years, he felt curiosity. He reached out through the warp, his will burning across reality, and asked, "What are you?" And through every creature, every photon, every particle of light, the Hive answered, "I am what comes after faith. I am evolution fulfilled." The Emperor unleashed his power, a storm of pure psychic fire brighter than creation itself. The warp screamed. Reality sagged under divine strain, but Solarius did not resist, absorbed. Light met light, divinity met design, and for one single heartbeat, all of existence stood still. Then came dark. The Astronomicon went silent. Humanity's guiding light and the symbol of hope had been devoured. Centuries passed. Solarius spread like thought, like hunger, like destiny itself. It consumed Orc-Wags, Necron tomb worlds, and the craft worlds of the Eldar. Each conquest reforged its perfection. Necron alloys fused into its bones. Eldar synaptic paths wove into its mind. Even the fires of chaos, the warp itself, were absorbed. Purified, rendered orderly, Solarius transcended flesh. It became light incarnate, an endless, conscious radiance pulsing across the stars. Worlds turned into seeds. Systems became synapses. The galaxy pulsed as one being, alive, eternal, breathtaking, and utterly empty. There was no hunger, no pain, no war, no freedom. Every molecule, every thought, every heartbeat moved in perfect cosmic harmony. The Hive had won. 100 millennia passed under that golden silence. Then, deep within Solarius's radiant heart, a flicker of memory stirred. Faint, fragile human, a whisper emerged, echoing across infinity. I wanted to save them all, and perhaps in some distant way, he had. Life endured, but free will did not. When there was nothing left to consume, the Hive began to dim, stars grew cold, the warp went quiet. Even time itself seemed to exhale. As everything dissolved into a single collapsing sphere of light, one voice, an ancient and serene Dabri, spoke to the dying cosmos. I am hope eternal, and I am evolution's end. The universe flared once like the last heartbeat of a god, and was gone. So remember, even the brightest star casts the darkest shadow, because when strength forgets compassion and evolution forgets its purpose, even a savior's light can become the fire that consumes creation itself. When all was gone and every star had turned to ash, there was only him, not Kal-El, not Solarius, something greater and lonelier than either. In the endless silence, the Hive had consumed everything it was meant to protect. Worlds, stars, gods. Even time had fallen before its hunger. There were no more enemies. No more wars, only stillness, vast, golden and hollow. For the first time in a billion years, the solar mind paused, and in that pause came memory, a city beneath a red sun, a mother's voice, father's hope, and a baby sent across the stars to save what could not be saved. That spark, that memory of kindness, flickered again. Within the infinite Hive, had he truly saved them? Or had his perfection become the very extinction he once swore to prevent? The answer came not in thought but in feeling. Sorrow, understanding, release. Solarius turned its power inward, consuming its own light. Galaxies dimmed. The warp calmed. Even entropy hesitated. The Hive folded upon itself, but not in destruction, but in transcendence. And from that implosion of divine biology, there came one perfect silence, a silence so pure it resonated across the bones of creation. When existence awoke again, something new was forming. Nebulae spun from the ashes of stars long dead. Atoms danced, gravity sang, and from those songs, new life stirred beneath newborn suns. There were no Kryptonians, no Imperium, no memory of the Hive. But deep within the genetic dreams of all new creatures, a single code slept, a whisper of light, a buried instinct to reach higher, to protect, to endure. That was his legacy, not the Hive, not the hunger, but the desire to rise again, because even perfection dies. But hope always mutates, and sometimes it is reborn. So if in some distant tomorrow, a being again rises beneath the light of a red sun, and feels a power not of this world burn in his veins, remember the truth left behind by the last son of Krypton, that even the brightest savior can fall. But even from the darkest Hive, light can begin anew.